Hello, my name is Erwan Plugonvin. I'm a portfolio manager for DELMIA process engineering domain. And today I will present you for the 2020X release what are the main highlights for the DELMIA process engineering domain. So let's start directly with the user role updates for 2020X in terms of packaging updates and new roles. First highlight is about DELMIA Manufactured Items Management. The acronym is MFN. This is a web role for MBOM authoring, and this role has been introduced in 18X GA on-premise, and now it's also available on cloud starting from 2020X FD1. So as a reminder, this web role provides, on top of the same model as in the classical authoring DELMIA apps, native apps, to create a manufacturing item structure out of a product structure. Usually this manufacturing item structure is at the end considered as a manufacturing bill of material. So this is a tool with a simple UI to easily automatically generate or manually generate this manufacturing item structure and maintain it all over time. So you can for sure deal with revisions, lifecycle management, configuration, management of an update of link, all under change control if you want. It's classical stuff related to manufacturing item structure definition. Second highlight related to roles updates is about the services process engineer role called SEN, which is a role, native application role to define service items and maintenance tasks. So it's quite similar role as the PST role, manufacturing engineer, which is targeted for manufacturing engineering. And here we are dealing with services and maintenance. So this role was not GA till 20X. It's now available GA for on-premise and cloud. So to provide you a little bit more detail about this role. So here you see a couple of key concepts that are supported with this role, which is basically dealing with one main application called DELMIA Service Process Structure, in which you can, out of a product structure, define your services BOM, maintain it all over time, define out of this services items structure your maintenance tasks, activities, maintain them all along the life cycle, also manage all requirements that needs to be consumed, tracked, and you can also allocate service resources to your maintenance tasks. Next topic is about the main highlights we have in the global process planning roles, and especially related to Win applications. First one is about a new option that you're gonna find in your preferences, which is called compliant with scheduling and execution. So this is an option which has been introduced in 2020X GA to reinforce the end-to-end digital continuity and the full integration between DELMIA digital manufacturing we are talking about right now and DELMIA Hortemps and DELMIA Appraisal. As soon as you have this option activated, whatever you're gonna define in terms of process engineering data will be compliant with Hortemps and Appraisal, meaning that it's gonna apply some rules in terms of type of objects you can create, which object you can create below another one, how many level of operations you can create, such kind of things. And this to be sure that Autemps and Apriso will fully understand whatever you're going to define in your process engineering applications. Another enhancements, which is also related to the end-to-end continuity and the connectivity with Autemps and Apriso, is the capability of defining a different kind of capable resource, not only one type, but two types actually, primary and secondary. Primary are used by Autemps at the end for scheduling, and these are the ones that are gonna execute the operation itself. Secondary resources do not need to be scheduled, but these are all the associated tools that you're gonna have to use for these operations. So the kind of distinction of type of resources you're gonna consume on each of your operations. For sure, you can also manage related documents for each of these attached resource. New announcements related to the manufacturing context builder application, which is the application to do session preparation to get the right data to be loaded and to work on for each user. So here some improved user experience with a couple of added functionalities, especially related to labels for BIs, additional capabilities in contextual menu for 3D viewer, about hide and hide, also in the spreadsheet as well, to group nodes based on any criteria. This is, for example, pretty useful to do quantity grouping, such kind of thing based on a reference and so on. Some additional capability and enhancements have been also provided in the PPR spreadsheet, which is a functionality you retrieve in a couple of process engineering applications like planning structure, manufacturing item definition, process planning, and equipment allocation. Here is a long list of different enhancements, but to highlight a couple of them, you are able now to, with the report manager, to identify any, to control and identify any issue related to attribute edition. And this is fully customizable based on a business logic. So to validate any modification attribute, you can also highlight and identify what are the mandatory attributes and so on. So these are pretty useful commands to do massive addition in one single simple UI of attributes for many objects at the same time and check if all this is correct or not. We have also retrieved the export PPR spreadsheet command to generate of this view some output file with like Excel and CSV files like this. Let's go to the next highlight then. Next one is about configuration management. Here in the process engineering application, we have enhanced also the capabilities in terms of replicating some configuration information from one structure to one other. So in fact, you have now the capabilities through options to choose to copy configuration model from product to manufacturing item, from manufacturing item to work plan or system and so on. This to make all your life easier at the end without applicating again and again on each intermediate node or root node the same model configuration. Another highlight is about the introduction of the new business logic. So business logic is a capability for any customer to customize, parameterize the behavior you want on some specific actions. Here it's a new one related to drag and drop. If you want to assign, for example, a manufacturing item to an operation, you could do this through a drag and drop. And now we have the applicability, the option to customize the related behavior to control, for example, what is allowed or not, or to apply some specific behavior behind. New enhancements related to the managing consistent link UI. There is a global new look and feel to make all of this more understandable, and a couple of new additional capabilities like display of any attribute of the object owning the broken link, which is pretty useful. You have similar filtering capability on columns like you do have in PPR spreadsheet. Globally, it's a convergence in terms of UI with other spreadsheets we have today. This is a kind of summary of new openings, either EKL or CAA, which have been introduced in 2020X. I'll let you go through each of these if you need, and come back to me for any further question if required as well. In terms of time analysis, so for time machine study, the new time standard maximost and minimost is introduced in 2020X with related capabilities in terms of standard. Also related to time analysis, new capability about propagation of changes. If you modify a template, being able to propagate this to all impacted time analysis at once. So this is to make all things much easier in terms of updates of template. Another enhancements related to time analysis is about formulas and parameters addition. So here we provide some additional capabilities in terms of parameters management for formulas to make easier to edit at once or a parameter for many formulas, and being able to sort and filter based on these parameters. Here is an interesting enhancement related to collaboration between process engineer and resource programmer, could be a machine programmer, robot programmer, to make easier the document attachment management, meaning that if a machine programmer, for example, is preparing his program for a given machine for a dedicated process, he's able to publish it from a resource perspective back to process, and the process engineer will be able to access to this published resource and attach it directly to the document. Here, a couple of highlights related to DELMIA tool analysis, especially for supplier collaborations, meaning if you want to exchange with any supplier not in the platform, you are able to export a Welgan section with related fasteners as product as 3D XML, but also to get here V5 with download compatibility to collaborate with any supplier which is still working in V5. And you have here a couple of interesting highlights related to new capability for robot in terms of for spot welding and workpiece mounted and held in the air, handled by a robot on rail axis and so on. Here is one slide related to all the announcements provided for in the DELMIA to analysis application to analysis UI. We have a bunch of rework here and new capabilities and simplification of the UI. I'll let you go through this if you're interested in it and have a closer look at it. Now we're going to move to the assembly simulation applications with related 20x and highlights. And let's start with assembly evaluation with the swept volume computation. In fact, we have here the new capability to launch this swept volume computation, meaning to generate a product out of a track in batch mode, meaning in background. So this computation could, in some cases, could be quite long. So this lets you to continue to work independently of this computation, which is realized in background. And whenever it's launched, it's finished, you get access to the result, but meanwhile, you can still work. And so you can launch this interactively from the session and still work in session, or even launch it in the classical batch mode. Here is one interesting highlight as well about update management for simulation with scenarios and tracks. We provide a new UI capability to easily identify what are the impacted scenarios and tracks by any modified product. It could be added, removed, move, whatever. So this is going to be impacting your track. And here with color code and so on, you can easily identify and update any impacted one. Related to assembly path optimization, meaning automatic computation of a track with a clash, we have now the visual feedback while computing, while the object moving progressively, to really understand where we are and if we could stop it and try to influence and fix some issue during computation. Here is another enhancement related to assembly path optimization. You can now stop interrupt at any time during computation by pause command and choose to display and keep one of the computed tracks. So this is to really, for the user to be able to, based on visual feedback we just got before, to say, okay, maybe I have here a good enough track already, I can stop and use it already and to optimize it afterwards. Here is another improvement which can be associated to the previous one. So here is, for example, when you have stopped your computation and you want to influence manually the process, so you're going to move your product manually, and here in background there is an automatic computation of an automatic path, so meaning progressively it's going to in background compute while you are moving manually a possible collision-free path at the same time. So all these enhancements combined together improves the overall solution and provides you a good combination of manual and automatic capabilities while getting a real understanding and a good understanding of how the computation is progressing. Now let's move to work instructions topic for 20x main highlights. First one is about the FTA, so annotations coming along with requirements. As you may know, we are capable to publish from a given product some FTA, so annotations as requirements, so to be consumed by manufacturing items or process data, even till work instructions. And this to be displayed at work instruction level. We were already able to do this for elementary parts. Now we provide also the capability to handle this at the assembly level. Another enhancements for work instruction is about the text editor enhancement. Here we have provided many additional capabilities in terms of text editor for text, alert, data collect, and sign off instructions. So you can now have numbered bullets, list, tables, images included in your text. And this can be used as output during your HTML documentation generation, or using CATIA report generator, or simply accessing with a 3D workbook or Aprizo with related 3D work instructions. Here we have pretty useful enhancements in terms of updates of views for work instructions. So we have an update manager UI for views. Now we are supporting multi-selection to update many of them at once and not one by one. In terms of dress up for 3D work instructions, here is a new announcement related to 3D lines with the automatic capability to automatically generate lines by moving parts. So you manually move using the PLM robot one part, and it's going to generate the line automatically. This can be generated also at explode. And in addition to the basic lines, straight lines, you can also manage what we call polylines, so meaning that you move in one direction your part and change to another direction the move, and it computes automatically these polylines. So this also can be done automatically at explode. So now let's move to factory flow simulation and related highlights for 20X. So one of the main topics in 20X is related to inbound logics and AGV support. So AGV, automated guided vehicle. So in 20X, we are introducing as GA capability the capability of defining AGV path system and instantiate AGVs on path systems and define related logics. Then to define decision points for your AGVs by detailing the different activities like load, transform, generate, quality check, and so on, and related logics as well for the AGV routings. And once you have defined all these paths, logics, activities, pools, and so on, you can then simulate this in the context of your factory in 3D. And out of the simulation, you get a result live during the computation, but at the end by report and so on. And you get a lot of KPIs to perform your analysis and make some decision. For example, you can easily identify if target machines starve for parts during productions, or parts could not be delivered due to size and number of part bins near machines. And based on all this, you can then iterate by experimenting and optimizing, changing the number of AGVs and related speeds and so on, number of part bins, reordering stuff, and so to do what-if scenarios and optimize at the end your simulation. So to support all this scenario, of course, a lot of enhancements have been introduced, and here are a couple of ones related to AGV routing and destination controls, like fixed destinations, route groups with push mode, request groups for pull mode, parking groups, carrying groups. I'll let you go in more details for this if you're interested in. And associated to the scenario also, you will find a lot of enhancements related to results and analysis of the simulation of these AGVs, like key states and statistics for AGV states, AGV decision zone, different charting functionalities also have been introduced for AGVs, and associate detail reporting. Another important topic in 20X for flow simulation is are the enhancements provided to in terms of continuity integration between your process engineering definition and your flow simulation. So we have now an extensive BI support to identify any impact and between your flow simulation and your process definition. Planning operations can be consumed by multiple activities now also. And there is the introduction of kind of pushback from flow simulation to your process and operations, like for example capabilities to, based on computed and average distance taken for one operation, you can push back this on the dedicated attribute of your operations, for example. Another important enhancements here is related to failure and repair support. A lot of enhancements have been provided, especially to define in a more accurate and detailed way how a repair or failure could happen. So you can support multiple failures now based on different parameters. You can associate it schedule modes, production percentage, trigger failure after completing job or immediately, capability to hold secondary resource or surrounding nearby machines in the nearby environments, and so on. So a lot of small enhancements at the end that provide a more accurate way of defining these failure and repair events. And to finish about this, here are two enhancements related to monitoring and reporting. You can track quantities for buffer resources after end of simulation. You can cache current state charts, views, and positions specific to a resource across simulation runs. So this concludes my presentation for today, with the main highlights for 20X in the process engineering domains. This is not, again, an exhaustive list. It's just a selection for you today. And of course, there is more to come in 21X. Now, I give back the ball to my friend Prashant for the Q&A session. Thank you.